Hello. It is the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms. Tell a friend, tell two. Today, we're talking about questionable booking. I'm sure I can do a segment like this every week. Heck, I could probably do it every day, especially with all the wrestling that's going on right now, whether it be WWE, AEW, DPW. That's the Dank Ops one, I think. Is it DS? I can't remember it's something. Yeah, questionable booking. I think I did an episode like this a while ago, but let's revisit on the road to Wrestlemania. There's going to be some strange booking because they got to get a lot of storyline packed into the next 2 weeks to make us all care about the matches that are going down. And I'm going to be honest, it's getting a little fuzzy. Some of these storylines aren't coming together like they should. Others are progressing as, they have been. Some are in autopilot, like Rey Mysterio versus Dominic. That has been on autopilot for maybe 4 months, something like that. It's just been like, hey, we know where they're working towards. We know Rey's not going to hit him until like the week before Mania. They're saving it, right? And everyone's anticipating it. Everyone is ready for that match. And like I said yesterday, Rey versus Dom. Rey is definitely going to work with his son. They've probably been mapping out this match for months now, and my trust in Rey is so high. I believe that he'll put on a fantastic match with his son. So the booking for that is already in place. They don't have to do anything. Dom just has to keep coming out and saying wild nonsense to his dad. His dad just has to look sad and continue to walk away from him. It's a week-to-week thing. Nothing new has happened. Nothing new is going to happen, but until he lays a fist on his son, and then we get the match. That's it. But then there's other things, like the Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match. It's already written in stone that it's happening. He's the Royal Rumble winner. At best, you can say Royal Rumble winners don't necessarily need a story to, get you invested in the match. It's not 100% true, but Cody Rhodes is trying his best. Every week that man comes out, puts on fantastic matches. On Raw last night, he faced LA Knight, whose stock is rising high. LA Knight is like quickly becoming one of the top mid-tier guys, which is not a slight. He's a workhorse. He works every week. He's doing his thing. He had the thankless role, like I said, of taking on Bray Wyatt and going through that ridiculous match. And he came out the other end, I think, with management on his side, because he got to go to Raw. He left his show, went to Raw, faced Cody Rhodes, made him look really good. And then after the pin, Cody got on the mic and tried to sell us on this Roman Reigns match. And I'm like, dude, we get it. I'm there for it. We're all here for that match. So you don't have to sell us on it anymore. It doesn't, there's no connection to you two outside of the fact that Roman is the champ and you won the Royal Rumble. For me, all this, like, they tried their best with the Roman Reigns and was the son that his Dusty always wanted or some nonsense like that. Fine, I'll buy that. And their promo together in the middle of the ring on SmackDown a couple weeks ago was great. But at this point, I'm just like, look, you're the Mania winner. You're the top babyface in the company now. Roman's the top heel. It's going to clash. It'll be fine. Hopefully Roman retains. No slight on Cody, but it just doesn't make sense for him to win that belt at Mania. But all signs point to him becoming the new champ, finishing the story, and then being a part-timer as well. I don't know. Anyway, back to the questionable booking. Omos versus Brock Lesnar. Is anyone else confused by this? I'll preface a lot of this by saying there are rumors that Vince McMahon has been more involved with creative, and if you want to do the conspiracy theory thing, Omos versus Brock Lesnar is a very Vince match. Given that Brock Lesnar had an ongoing feud with Bobby Lashley, which that feud made no sense to me. They had no real beef other than like, hey, we've never fought before, let's fight. Which at that level is fine. Brock and Bobby have enough chemistry where if they had a match at WrestleMania, if all that stuff was leading to a match, like I think someone wrote, like having a no holds barred match or some sort of cage match or whatever. I feel like if they would have put them in a cage, it would have been like a quasi UFC MMA fight, and it would have been interesting. But instead, they move Bobby into this program with Bray Wyatt that has stalled. Bray Wyatt has not been live in person since his Extreme Rules match. And Bobby's been just talking to nobody for the past couple of weeks. If you really break it down, he's just been talking to video packages. So that match, and then there's rumors now that Bray Wyatt might be injured or, have creative differences or some nonsense. The same old Bray Wyatt nonsense. So now Bobby Lashley's floating in the wind, and now Omos is taking on Brock Lesnar on the biggest stage of them all. Like, Omos, for all his mediocre wrestling, has been given WrestleMania spots before other people. It's so confusing, and it's very Vince style booking. Because remember, just a quick recap, before Vince left, Omos was on track. He was, wrestling almost every week. Vince left, Omos left. And then Trips brought him back, and he was just squashing locals to try to get him over as a competent monster. And those matches were terrible. But in the vein of like carnival-esque wrestling, which is what WWE is. A giant man beating up 5 people. Come on down and see the giant take on 5 regular-sized men. And then he would like stand on top of them and get pinned. And that was his trajectory. All of a sudden, Omos is back in the spotlight and taking on arguably one of the biggest stars WWE has ever had at WrestleMania. For what? For a squash? I guarantee you it's going to be a weird squash where Brock comes out, F5's this big dude, pins him, gets his check, and goes home. Again, very Vince booking. I'm confused by that match. Secondly, Bianca Belair and Asuka. What is that? What is this build? Again, it's like, I get that Asuka won the Royal Rumble. No, Asuka won the Elimination Chamber. And that gave her the right to take on Bianca, which is fine, but there is absolutely no story between these two other than Asuka and Bliss used to be lackeys for Bianca for a bit, which again was a strange angle, but I think it was just trying to get them two over. Now Bliss is gone. Shout out to Bliss. Hope he returns soon and they write you something. I'm thinking post-Mania, but whatever. But now Asuka's just kind of like dancing around Bianca and taunting her, and now they're going to have a tag match next week against Chelsea Green and what's that other lady's name? Carmella. And they're doing the can they coexist nonsense, which has been a trope in wrestling since the dawn of time. It's such a boring old lead up to a Mania match. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And it feels like old booking, if I'm being honest. I'm very confused by that booking decision. So there are just some storylines that are not coming together. The last one, I think, is KO and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, which is the rumored match that everyone's been sort of waiting for. And it's looking less and less likely as KO continues to shun Sami. I mean, they have this Thursday SmackDown to kind of get it in gear. But we're 2 weeks out from Mania, and there's no momentum in terms of the Usos versus KO and Sami, because KO and Sami have not reunited at all. So who knows if they're going to take on those two for the tag titles. It's looking actually more like KO is going to take on Solo at Mania or something, or maybe Jay. I don't know, but all these booking decisions are very strange. What do you guys think is the strangest booking decision leading up to WrestleMania? I almost said Royal Rumble. Leading to WrestleMania, do you think there's an unseen hand manipulating the stuff backstage? Let me know in the comments. Tell a friend about the podcast, and don't you forget,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.